This conference will now be recorded.
All right, go for it, Patrick.
All right, so I'm Patrick Bass, and so I'm over at the Citadel, and so what I'm going to talk about is an initiative that we're trying to put together is starting to look at developing an SAME-centric or sponsored competition. And so we were thinking kind of with the way that we're structured with the student chapters and how they're attached with their posts, that it offers us basically a unique opportunity for putting together a competition, supporting it, and then kind of the back end of it with possible recruiting coming out of it. So that's what I'm going to kind of go through today, kind of what we're spitballing with regards to how that'll look, and then definitely looking for feedback from everybody for what would make for a good competition for us. So you hit the next one. So these are the things we're going to go over, kind of why we started thinking that it would be pretty cool if SAME had their own student competition, how we would kind of focus the ideas for topics that we would look at with regards to the competition. It would be pretty wide open, but we'll kind of discuss that. What's out there currently kind of for student competitions that kind of are fitting, that will kind of fit for what we're looking at with regards to topics, or at least our general focus area. Looking at kind of our initial thoughts on how we would evaluate the competition and what the timeline might be for a given year or year and a half for running it and the logistics behind it. Looking at a little bit of the pros and cons and kind of wrapping that up with kind of what we're overall thinking for the competition setup. We'll on to the next one. So motivation, right? So we have these student chapters, so there's 36 student chapters, and so we're looking at a way to energize them, right? So for the majority of, I know for the Citadel stuff, most of our meetings involves them receiving information, right? We have guest speakers come in, they interface with the guest speakers, which is totally fine, but we're trying to look at ways where we can leverage the students in the classroom, right? Typically for SAME, the student chapters comprise students from majors from all over a given campus. It's not just focused in on, say, mechanical engineering for like ASME or civil engineering for ASCE. It's the umbrella type of organization. So if we can start looking at ways where the students can be more active inside of a given meeting, then they're going to want to come to the meeting. So you don't have to offer as many incentives like pizza and bonus points to get people to actually come to the meetings. They're going to want to come to them, and then if they miss them, they're going to be upset that they didn't make it to the meeting because there's a project and a problem that they're actually trying to solve while they're there. So you can hit the next one. Click the next, please. There should be a couple lines coming up. Yeah, you want to click, there it is. Yeah, that works. So again, 36 chapters. And so we're thinking we have all these students that they want to be engineers, so want to start tackling some engineering problems while they're at the meetings. So it gives them a way, like any competition, of gaining experience for a given topic and solving a current issue and trying to figure out how to approach a solution process and be successful at it. And the nice thing and the thing that we feel is unique with us is that all the chapters are attached to a post. And so that post is a built-in network for mentoring right there. So if the competition is going on, they can reach out to the members from the post and be like, hey, we're working on this competition idea. Do you have any experience in this? Can you help us out? Those types of things. And then on the back end of that, if the post and the members there for whatever company they're working for feel like it's a good idea, there's a good pipeline for transitioning whatever engineering solution that they come up with into something that actually might be marketable and they get some type of funding on there. So there's a lot of good pros on there. And other competitions, there isn't necessarily that built-in network of experts in the field that could help the students advance their design process. So we think that's pretty cool. You want to hit the next one? Right, so our focus for this. So I mean, we want to run a competition. So start narrowing down like how we want to get our scope and how we want to nail down the focus for our competition. So the thing we've been looking at is the National Academy of Engineering and the grand challenges that they put out. And so their idea is that they want to look at ways for solving problems so that we can sustain civilization's continuing advancement as a population grows out. So there's lots of problems in areas of study with regards to their grand challenges. So it ends up being 14 areas of research that they're looking at advancing in. So it ends up being pretty wide ranging with the topics that are involved with that. So it offers a good framework for the students to find a project that they're interested in, put together a team, and then start brainstorming a way to solve a problem within a given area of study. And if you want to hit the next slide, it'll show the different 14 areas of research. And then, I mean, we can always talk more about that once we get to that. So Eddie, if you want to hit the next slide for me. Yeah, so oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there's a quick bullet on the back one. So we're looking at, again, building an SAME-based competition around the grand challenges. And so our initial thought is that it'll be a paper competition where students will design what they can on paper, and then maybe down the road actually look at physical builds with this. And then as we figure out the process for assigning winners, maybe invite them out to JETSI to present their findings, have a poster competition at JETSI. So we would definitely would like input for that, for how that structure would look at, how it would look. So these are the grand challenges that are up here. So these are the 14 areas. So brain engineering, carbon sequestration, clean water, cyberspace, energy availability, health informatics, human learning, medical engineering, nitrogen cycle, nuclear mitigation, scientific discovery, solar energy, urban infrastructure, and virtual reality. So yeah, it's across the board with what they're looking at with regards to grand challenges. And so if you click it one more time, there are some areas that naturally fit with engineering, and there might be a way you could pose it to the student chapters saying, hey, we're looking at these areas. We can look at research possible problems that are going on in these types of areas and look at a way to find a solution. And then they would work out at the meetings, kind of on paper, what the problem is, spec it out, try to go through the design process, and then see if they can engineer a solution for a given topic underneath any of these areas. So it offers a good bit of flexibility to what we would encompass as far as the competition, and it gives the students the ability to look at something that they're super interested in with regards to research. So we definitely felt that the grand challenges was a good umbrella to look at initially, to kind of flesh out what we would like to have as a competition. For competitions that are currently out there, if you wanted to click to the next one, there are a lot, right? So I tried to find ones that kind of fit in with what the grand challenges ones were out there, and these ones, some of them fit well into it. Some are a little bit more of a tangent, but the idea is that we would, at least currently, before we have our own competition, encourage student chapters to foster a team, and then have a team look at the competitions that are out there, enter into that gives SAME some publicity, and then from the lessons learned through encouraging teams to do any of these competitions, what the takeaways are that would help us frame out the competition for SAME. I know this year is definitely weird, and a lot of these competitions that are listed here are still trying to figure out what they're going to do for this year. But I mean, if you go through any of them, it still outlines the problem statement for a given competition. And then even if a team couldn't submit to a given competition for this year, they could still go through the exercise of taking a problem statement, breaking it down into what are the solvable parts of it, and then generating the solution. And that's something that we could still look at for them being able to present at JETC, again, through a poster session or something to that effect.
Patrick, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Are the topics on the previous slide embedded in these competitions? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was trying to take the grand challenges and see what competitions out there kind of fit into that. So the ones that I have listed aren't specific to the grand challenges, but just in my process for putting the slides together, what I felt answered the question of competitions that kind of meet the grand challenge problem statement.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah, I think our goal with jumping in this way is we really need to know how many of our chapters are organized to the point where they can field teams in our own competition. Before we invest in an entire infrastructure for a competition, it would be great if we already knew that there were teams out there organizing, competing in other competitions, and ideally winning. And so we can recognize them and then also use that momentum to lead into our own competition.
Yeah, and then looking at the publication piece, like how do you advertise this? How do you motivate a team within an SAME student chapter to get them up and running, and then mentoring them through the process to make sure they're hitting the right dates for a given competition, and again documenting that whole process so that we can use those takeaways to make one specific to SAME. So yeah, it would definitely be pushing teams to run an external competition initially, and then seeing what we need to do to make our own. But these are examples of what's currently out there. For the four in the middle, I think I was on a roll grabbing competitions, and I forgot to get the hyperlinks. But definitely lots of examples out there to look at. It's not inclusive, so if you found another competition that was interesting to your student chapter, then yeah, they can definitely run with that, and we could still go through the same learning exercise for how to field a team and how to run a competition.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about yesterday on activities for student chapters was how to sync up what your sustaining members might have interest in. Where are they doing work that might have some research needs to bring over to the student chapter? This just adds an extra level of motivation in that coming up with these project ideas, it would be great if not only it matches the requirements for the competition, but the end product ends up being something that somebody within your post could use as as actionable research. So that's kind of the sweet spot we're looking for: projects that can win, but then projects that, because of the competition, can come back into our society as designs that just need a sponsor or someone to implement them.
Right, especially when you get into extending it past the paper competition kind of phase of this, and we're getting into physical builds. We can look at members from the post to help sponsor a team and getting equipment. So those partnerships are kind of already ingrained to the structure for the student chapters, which is nice. It's kind of like the initial kind of casting of a net to see what's out there. And so the next bit of the slides is looking at kind of what we would think a structure would look like if we were to do it with an SAME, and then looking to get feedback. So this is kind of a year and a half schedule for what we think would happen if we ran an SAME competition. And again, for the first year or two, we would push students doing external competitions, and then eventually build out one for SAME specifically. But going through the spring prior to, say, JETC, putting out the competition specifications, and then over the summertime, seeing who was interested, and then looking about putting a team together, and then start having them look at the initial submissions. And the way we would work is kind of initial abstract, and then narrow down the abstracts into a final subset of teams, have all those subset of teams eventually come out to JETC, but then have the winner do their own kind of maybe full conference type presentation where everybody else does a little bit of a, like, say, a poster presentation. But this is kind of what it would look like. Still work to be done on there because it's not finalized, but definitely a place to start from as you go through the process with a team for a current competition to see what we need to tweak as we move forward to have our own. So definitely we would look for feedback for this type of schedule to see if it's an appropriate schedule. Come on, hit the next one, and then looking at how we would evaluate that as well. So several different areas. So the challenge, so does the submission do an adequate job of explaining the problem, issue to be solved, and how the solution addresses it? So again, they would have some type of, it would be a paper competition, so it's going to be a technical report. So making sure it's well-rounded, so identifying the problem statement, going through their solution process, and then their final solution selection. So almost like a capstone project, just within the confines of SAME. So it's what is that? It has to pass the Home Depot test, right? So it can't take them a weekend to make their whole project, right? It has to have sufficient level of difficulty, which is somewhat subjective, but still, you would know if this is something that they could have done pretty quickly. So that's one. So innovation, does the submission represent a novel way of applying a multidisciplinary solution? I think that one would probably get answered just because, again, SAME brings in majors from all over the place. So it's going to be multidisciplinary in nature, but then kind of looking at their solutions to see if they're doing more than just off-the-shelf analyses. Next, seeing if what their product ends up being, does it have some marketability to it? Does it have some, does it look like it could be a commercial product? And then seeing what that path would be to take it from their concept to reality. We could have things in there like a business plan included. For our seniors here at Citadel, we asked them to also enter into the Bulldog Business Bowl. So it's a competition sponsored by the business department. And so they will have their capstone project, and then they need to put together a business plan and pitch it to a contingent of people in the business department to see if they could be funded for bringing this to a commercial product. So it's kind of like Shark Tank. So that's something that we could implement into this as well, especially if a design looks like it could become a commercial product. Let's see, next one, rigor. Does the submission represent a sound understanding of technical, scientific, and societal factors at play? So again, making sure it's a well-rounded type of project. So taking into consideration societal concerns, environmental concerns, and those types of factors. That's one. So next one is multidisciplinary teamwork. So this one, we have the caveat in there of 3 or more disciplines with at least one discipline falling outside of the AEC industry and representing more than one engineering society. So we have our majors that are cross-disciplinary, and then looking to maybe take in some students that are external to, say, the engineering majors in order for them to look at have a more diverse team. Because if you have a business major in on the engineering team, they might see something that the engineers didn't, so it gives you a different vantage point for furthering a design. So we would want to make sure that the teams themselves are multidisciplinary. Next, industry is, does a submission reference prospective industry partners that might be interested in the solution? So that goes to teaming with the post to see if the project that the students are working on aligns in any way with stuff that they're doing in their given business, and seeing if there's a way to continue the research even after the competition, with whether that's additional funding, and so on and so forth. Does it have that merit to it if this is something that you could push along?
Yeah, I think this is
Yeah.
Sorry, just jump in. I think this is a key point for us as to why we would jump in with our own. There's plenty of competitions out there that have tons of infrastructure, great prizes. I'd love to see our teams winning those prizes and bringing them back home to the society. But I think for me, what turns this into just an academic exercise into something that's more utilitarian for us as an organization is, can we utilize the intellectual energy, the motivation, and just the innovative thinking that students represent to add to the body of knowledge of our industry? I think that's where this becomes less of just something cool to do for our students, but something that yields practical, implementable solutions that then puts the student in a position to carry that through their career. There's got to be some project ideas, I would imagine, that could easily turn into LLCs, could turn into consultancies. I think that's the big picture we're going for.
Right. And then into the last one, which is social influence. And so, does the submission address any attitudinal changes necessary by relevant segments of society for the solution to be adopted? So, I mean, looking at different ideas, that it's, I guess, more than, say, like an automatic golf swing type of machine, right? So something that could impact society as a whole, like saying if you had an indoor garden in an urban school, right? Those are engineering solutions that help people have a better life. And so it's another aspect of the competition that we could look at as well. Not sure if that bullet has come up yet. So the last one for the slide. Yeah, so the social influence. So can it impact people, I guess, in more ways? Does it better people's lives, right? So it's something that we could incorporate into the competition. So these are kind of at least the framework of evaluation that we would look at for a given entry into the competition. Looking at the pros and cons, of course, all pros, right? So SME competition's got to be good. Cons is you got to do work, right, to make it actually happen. But I think the back end benefits are great, right? So depending on what the problem is, the research could be published. There could be patents that are available. Private industry could adopt it. So there's some funding options that are out there. So it seems like it would be a right fit for SME to have some type of competition. Let's see, and for the next bullet that's on here is laying groundwork for SME hosted competitions. So again, that goes back to if we're going to initially push the students to look at external competitions, eventually we can take all those lessons back and tailor our own one to meet the goals for SAME to have a competition that makes sense for us. Which leads into the next bullet is, it's a community effort, right? So everybody on the call here, we can draft our competition to suit the needs for SAME. So it's ours to tailor to what we would like to have on the back end of it. How do we want to affect students in their learning? How do we want to mentor them and excite them for engineering and solving problems? We can draft how that experience is going to look for them. And then, in general, for any competition, the student's going to gain some type of engineering experience, right? How to solve a problem, but then how to look past, right? There's going to be a specific solution for a problem. This is different. It's open-ended, and they would have to find a solution amongst many solutions. And so that is a valuable skill set for them to have coming out of college. And then always the dollars, right? So if the students come up with a great solution to something, there's probably some money that can be made from it, and so sponsoring that effort to push an idea further. So again, there's work to make a competition happen. We're going to push for looking at external competitions right now, but if we can build off of what others have done, we can make a pretty strong addition to the competition pool. So moving into the final thoughts for all this is, one, we want to know what your ideas are. So this is stuff that we've been kind of working for the past couple months to kind of wrap our brains around it, but now we can expand that out to all of you to try to figure out what the next phase of this looks like. And so part of that is finding a competition where you feel that you could field a team for. If you wanted to do a couple clicks for me, Eddie. So yeah, getting your ideas, find a competition you can field a team for, and then advertise and try to find a way to incentivize fielding a team for your student chapter, trying to find a way to motivate the students to want to get involved. Outside of motivators for pizza, even though we still have pizza at the meetings, seeing if we can add a little bit, another layer to it. And then going through and recording your experiences and lessons learned for the next couple of years as we try to flesh out what it takes to field a team, to be in a competition, and then along the way providing suggestions. But yeah, in the end, I think we can do it. So I mean, why not give it a go?
Yeah, and I want to break up the discussion into two parts. You know, we referenced a lot about when SAME would have our own competition, and I was just mentioning in the chat that we do want to pull an advisory team together that'll help us, map out what the competition is going to look like. It would be the folks that would add some notoriety to the design by taking advantage of your input. So we'll have a whole process for developing that when we get to that point. I think part of the discussion today in your roles as chapter mentors is, one, how many of you have teams that are involved in any of this kind of thing? I definitely want to hear from the student chapter members that are on the call about how this fits into what they would like to do with their chapters. And then, what would we need to focus on in order to get more teams motivated enough to participate in external, other people's competitions. So any of that kind of feedback, we'd love to open the line.
Sure. Like I said before, my name is Abrar Samimi. I'm one of the officers on the GMU SAME student board, as well as the treasurer for GMU ASC and the treasurer for GMU EFID. SAME and EFID are both sort of multidisciplinary organizations, and then you have ASE, which is just kind of focused on civil engineering. My experience with RSO competitions at Mason have been very positive. Obviously, it's all been pros. I think comps are great. They're great networking opportunities. They allow you to apply concepts that you learned in class. You get a chance to represent your school. You can win competitions and put your school on the map, like Mr. Gonzalez was saying. Personally, winning is a big part of these competitions for me. And I know it requires a lot of time. Most of these competitions, like for example, the concrete canoe one that I was a part of last year, was rather time-consuming, difficult, had a lot of moving pieces. And when you look at the national competition and you see the deliverables that other schools are providing, it's amazing. So we have to work very hard to compete. And then also we mentioned solving societal challenges. That's a huge part of these competitions. And I think most of these competitions do allow you to do that. And also you get to learn new concepts. Specific experience, again, with the ASC hosted concrete canoe competition. We learned a lot of project planning stuff. We got to apply some of the engineering stuff that we learned in school. Got into like the business side of things too, with proposals and responding to an RFP. And then there was the construction aspect, the teamwork, and kind of leadership experience that we all gained. I actually sent a video of some of our work to Mr. Gonzalez. I don't know if he can share his screen or if he'd like to share that email. I made like a video of some of our work last year.
Let me see if I can pull it up while we're still talking.
Sweet. So immediately, like I see the competitions being, like we said, virtual, online, and then the deliverables being just kind of a theoretical paper associated with that. I personally think that we need to go more towards the whole winning the competition. Deliverables need to be, marketable and that kind of thing. I think that's the biggest motivation, and that's gonna, because when like people are attracted to the winning side. If you want recruiting to be easy, you got to put your school on the map. People have got to know you. So all those things get easier. If we can, get organized, get really, just plan this project really well, and the end goal is to have a really remarkable deliverable, I think it's going to be a lot easier to recruit.
Thanks, Abrar. Yeah, I'll play the video in just a second. But something you mentioned really struck with me in trying to put us on the map. I'm still surprised at the number of posts that are involved in student-related activities and efforts, yet student members at the society level do not really register the way that I think they should, given how much we do with students. I'm still challenged with getting participants in some of my youth-based COIs. We've had some discussions about getting students at our national events. So we're doing a lot at the post level, all over the place, in really great stuff. And Dave Packer just said his program's 27 years going, but we're still it's not translating up, I think, tangibly to the national level. People like referring to our work with students, the fact that we do have student chapters, but it's a very superficial understanding. And I think these are the kind of things that I want us to explore to really make having student members real for the society, not just for those of us involved in this work. So, competitions to me is a way to put SAME on the map with these other entities, but also with ourselves. So I appreciated that comment. Okay, you want me to just hit play, or do you want to preface this at all, or what?
Sure. This is just a video I made of the first half of the work that we put into just doing some research and development on the Concrete Canoe project. This is right before COVID canceled that whole thing. So enjoy, and let me know if you have any questions.
All right, hold on, here we go. Wow, I got to tell you, man, that kind of stuff gives you goosebumps. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
So what was the result of y'all's, as far as, personal satisfaction and what came after the competition once you guys were all done? Was what do you see as the lingering benefits to having done this?
Definitely loads of benefits. It, like I said, it gave us like this experience of building something that you don't get in the classroom. In the classroom, they teach you the physics, right? They teach you, the math behind it and how to do all the calculations, but you don't really get to build anything with it, with people. You don't know how many parts there are to actually even building something. This project showed that, just building a canoe, it's not very simple. Like there's a bunch of parts, there's even a business side of it, and then you got to get all these different people organized. You got to keep meeting together, and so basically, it just develop your skills. You're a better team player as a result. You get some leadership experience. Even like presentation. Like I was on the presentation side of the project, and I learned how to really address a proposal, like give a nice proposal, and so I mean I could probably go on for days, to be honest, about the benefits, but it was a wonderful experience. We didn't get to race the canoe, right? Because that was the most important part of it, I think, is racing other schools, seeing how we stack up. But none, because like towards the end, like in March, the COVID thing happened, and then the whole competition was canceled. But there's one going on next year, and they already announced what school it's going to be in and everything. We basically are going to refine the construction process and refine a bunch of other things that, different pieces of the project, and we're going to go better next time.
So GMU, this GMU student chapter, in collaboration with some of the other technical society groups, you all enter a competition every year.
Correct. The concrete canoe competition is hosted by ASC. The GMU ASC student organization is always recruiting for this project, and we're always trying to develop our teams for next year and just prepare for next year.
And what do the winners get?
I mean, on the national competition, like first, second, third, there's like prizes. I think there's some money involved, scholarships. You get your name out there. I mean, honestly, just winning it without any of the prizes, just your face being on like the proposal that won is huge, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are there other chapters here that are doing anything similar? Or for the two that were brought up on the chat, you want to just describe what your post does, or if this relates to your chapter?
Dave, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So this is Dave Packard, and that was Bobby Joe Lang. What we were sharing, and we'll share this with you after the meeting here. But our program, the one that Eddie mentioned, that's got 27 years of history involved with it, started out as a small high school competition, and then became a much larger middle and high school competition. It's called the Student Mentoring Program, and what it is it pairs up engineering and architecture professionals with middle and high school teams that work from September or October through March, and they develop basically an engineering thesis. It's a 20-page paper. We had to cap it at that, but it involves teams of 20 to, well, in fact, there are teams that are anywhere from 2, we require a minimum of 2, to 20 or 30 students who work on a program or a competition to solve an engineering problem of their own definition. So they actually come to the table with a problem that they want to solve. The best one I saw last year was, hit all the marks that you guys talked about. We asked them to basically go through a process. We want to expose them to the design process in a very practical way, and they go through exploration of alternatives. They finally come up with a solution that they like. They test their solution. They may or may not have a model or a working model. Last year's winner was actually a pitching platform. What it did was it analyzed a baseball pitch, the pitcher's action as they went through the motions of pitching the baseball, and it's used as a coaching tool. They wrote the code for this thing. They created the platform apparently there are a few similar kinds of things, but they don't all, the devices don't all analyze in multiple directions. Most of them were only analyzing it in one direction. And so so they wrote all the code for it. That was all pretty proprietary. And then they have an action plan for implementation. So they go through a fairly significant effort to get to this point, marketing solutions, and then they present it in a competition at the end of the year. So we have about 35 schools that are both middle and high schools that participate in this, and then they're awarded scholarships and cash prizes for that in April. So it's a full year competition, but it requires a fair amount of investment from the post and sustaining members to ensure that we have mentors that can guide these teams so they don't get too far off base. And but we have an entire set of rubrics that we use to determine who the winners are. You know, we have a panel of judges. They're different than the judges are different than the mentors, and it's a fairly complex system, but it's on a local level. But certainly the model, the operations, you know, the way the competition is managed could be shared and would work very well at the college level as well. I'll also put in one other pitch on our student chapter program, in which we've done smaller competitions. Like we had a CAD competition in association with our student chapter overall program. And it was just a 2-day event, you know. It was really really wonderful. Brought students together just to exercise their chops. We also, of course, have had the usual things, bridge building competitions during E-Week and other smaller competitions that you know, some schools may be appropriate for some schools. So it's, you know, I made a comment yesterday. It's not so much that you that you know what you do as that you have a rhythm, a cycle of activities for student chapters. So, but I think those that tie into national competitions are really admirable. But again, we'll share the model.
Thanks. Yeah. So, but it sounds like it's an entire post level effort to manage the competition. You've got a team behind it.
Yep.
Is there a specific role for the student chapters in that, or are they just?
Actually, the student chapter is also engaged during the competition. We ask them to come out and help us manage this, you know, behemoth of a competition that takes place on one day in April. And
Gotcha.
you know, you get 300 or so students from 35 schools that are you know, running around like crazy and very excited about their proposals. So, but the student chapter engages with us as well on that particular day, and it's actually held at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, so at the Peter Kiewit Center. So.
And then that gets the high school or the student participants exposed to the college campus and being in a college environment. So you add that added benefit too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think from this stage where it's great to know that there are posts that are have their own programs already going. You know, I think that's where we want to encourage posts to get to, but also, and it could be that a student chapter could host their own high school or middle school competition rather than, you know, running having, you know, one that's focused on collegiate level. But for other folks that are on the call, are any of you contemplating doing any of this kind of stuff? Do you feel like your chapter would be in a position with some encouragement to be able to organize teams, or where are you in having this be something that you could implement? Not Dave's example, but just getting teams competing in external competitions.
Yeah, Eddie, it's Dick from San Antonio.
Yes, sir.
You remember our discussion at St. Mary's University about trying to tie the senior design projects into the
Yep.
SAME competition? I throw out this idea. I think a lot of colleges have the senior design projects going on, and maybe what we could do is the chapter would submit the best senior design project from their group, and we compete the 36 chapters for the first time on those senior design projects. They'd be in all different areas. And then from that, we build a single competition as a follow-on.
So initially, go ahead.
Initially, what we do is we'd have student chapters that have programs that require a senior design project. They would submit their best senior design project to SAME, and then a group would sort out the 36 projects and have finalists, and then the finalists would present at JETSI, and then we'd select a winner. The following year, we go on to, okay, now let's make it more of the concrete canoe. Everybody works on a concrete canoe, or whatever. Everybody works on this national challenge.
Yeah, the Grand challenges. Yeah.
That's just a thought.
It does take advantage of work that's already being done at the student level, and adds more utility to those projects. Abrar, do you guys work on, or who else is on here? Do we have any of the students as well that want to chime in?
Yeah, Gazi, you want to take this one?
Oh yeah, there you are.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah? Okay. So just talking about student competitions here at George Mason, I would say that really it's just building off of what Abrar said, with how focusing more about just the quality of the competitions that you're getting. Back to what Dick was saying about just taking like the top groups of people from the different chapters and having them compete against one another. I think that'll be a way that you could bring out the best quality of results with the largest amount of people too. If you're looking for just a lot of activity and not that much quality, it's focusing more on just boosting participation instead of just focusing on like top 3 or top 5 prizes would be a way to do that. But I think what will be best for everyone, and what would be best in the future going forward with SAME and improving quality, is just really just hammering down on having and making sure that the students that are participating in the products that they are delivering, it's something that is top quality and takes time, and not something that anyone could do, but something that a group of people can do, as long as they put in the work for it. One thing that I realized was that during my freshman year, I was the project manager for our HPVC competition, and I was on one of the slides before I mentioned the human powered vehicle competition for our ASME chapter. And I think the great thing about that, what I learned was that, as Abrar said too, it's like you're learning skills along the way that you're not learning in the classroom. You may be learning a lot of like theoretical applications, things of that nature, but having that hands-on side of it that you aren't able to get anywhere else. Having that side of it where you're learning how to talk to different people that may not have the same ideas as you, right? Learning how to handle issues that come up that you don't think can get solved, but you have to get solved because you guys have to work together for a common goal, things of that nature. For SAME, I think that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Just making sure that different types of people are working together making sure that the product that they're delivering is something that not anyone can do, pushing really for that top 3, that top 5 spot. But really just what I think from what Dick said is like having like the top teams, the top student groups from different chapters coming together to compete again. That would be amazing. That's what I think, though. That's what I think.
So with the senior design idea, we'd be talking individuals versus groups, correct? Dick?
The ones I'm familiar with, they're groups, they're teams. Actually, they have some non-engineers on the teams at the ones at St. Mary's. And they make the teams of 5 to 6 folks. And they make a formal presentation that I've been lucky enough to have had 2 years in a row to be one of the evaluators. It's fairly impressive. And they try to build a finished product. This year we had to do it virtually because COVID-19 stopped the production part, but they briefed on all the phases that they had completed.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I do like
different at each college how they do it.
Right, and that's where, you know, our judging would have to incorporate any number of different parameters to try to be equitable in how things are getting judged, or we have categories. It'd be interesting to see what kind of projects we get, and then, you know, if these are, like you said, projects that are already being worked on, we're really just adding more value to the effort they've already done. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to keep pursuing this, and, you know, Patrick, maybe this is an interim to before we even start contemplating our own competition. Is we encourage people to go after external competitions while we start thinking about how to solicit entries for, you know, a design review or something like Dick's talking about.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Try to test drive a couple different submission processes and ideas, and then see what kind of really sticks and what works, and then see, like they said, how to get a good quality product out of it.
This is Ann. I just had a thought. Maybe before we turn this into a competition, would we be able to solicit some senior projects from our different student chapters now, just to kind of see what kind of things they're doing and how they do it? Would that be something we can request from the chapters, just to see what their schools do? And that way, that might give us a better idea of how we would be able to build a competition around it if we have sort of the frameworks that they're using.
Yeah, I'm wondering how to still make it valuable for them to get us that data, like, you know, just highlight them in some way so that they're being promoted, you know, that we're soliciting this information so we can highlight the work that our students are doing. And then maybe I create a web page that documents each of the projects as a first step. And then once we see what kind of projects we get, we can design you know, an entrance.
It might just give us a better baseline. So I'm just trying to see how we can get more information and then make a more informed decision.
And we can even talk, you know, I can talk to Joe during our budgeting process about still coming up with some nominal prize. You know, everybody that submits, you know, we're going to pick it doesn't have to be overly structured, but to give them some more motivation that we'll, you know, we're going to pick 2 or 3 to highlight, but it won't be anything as dramatic as a, you know, a more.
Or maybe a small write-up in TME or something like that.
Yeah.
With their post.
Actually, that's a good point too, is I can say that we're doing an art, you know, is actually come up with an article on student innovation and solicit those ideas, you know, using that as a carrot as well.
See what at St. Mary's University, I don't know how all the things up, but from last year's PLW, I think Citadel has something similar. They make a brochure the day of the evaluation. There's a package which includes a summary of each project. So if we could get something like that, we can see what's going on in all the schools. And get a feeling if this would be feasible.
All right, can you say that again? I was taking some notes, Dick, sorry.
Yeah, when I went the day of the evaluation, we got a package, and the package included a one-page synopsis of the project, who was on the team, and kind of the basic on the approach. So we could get, like Ann asked, if we could get something like that from each of the student chapters on senior projects, then we could see if this idea is feasible at all.
Yeah.
Anyways, food for thought.
No, I like it. We've got a couple more minutes. Anybody want to throw anything else out to the group over anything we've talked about that they want to make sure gets recorded? Yeah, I think overall, what we're really trying to do is add value to why students would want to be a member of us, and also to get value from the students. On Monday or Tuesday session, we talked about we have over 3,000 student members, which is a drop in the bucket compared to how many students are in STEM degrees, especially those involving our industry. But even with our 3,000, I don't know that we're getting the value we can from them as a component of our membership. And just hearing them talk and seeing videos like the one Abrar posted, they're doing high caliber work that's at the level of rigor that professionals are. And I think I'm really interested to see how we can, elevate their standing as members within the society. So, and competitions, I think, is what can make it more real for other society members. Patrick, Ann, any last words from you? I forgot to introduce Ann.
I just wanted to say,
Sure.
sorry, I was a few minutes late. I got held up with a client. But I just want to say hello. I'm Ann McMillan. I'm the chair of the College Outreach COI. As always, and I just want to say thank you for everyone for the today and the past 2 days of all the effort that everyone has put into these sessions and participation. It's been great to hear everyone's ideas and thoughts and best practices from all over the different posts that make up SAME. So a big thank you to everyone who's participated, been involved. The College Outreach COI is here to help you guys and do what you need done. So things like this help us identify what the most important goals are. So please always reach out to me if you have ideas or suggestions of what you think needs to be done or can be improved. We are always looking for help. If you are more interested in getting more involved with the College Outreach COI, also please let me know. We're always looking for more folks to get involved. And yes, again, just thank you to everyone for their help and participation over the past few days. Patrick, I'll turn it over to you if you have any.
Great, and thank you, Abrar and Gosi, for providing your perspective on it. It's definitely great to hear it from how the students are experiencing these competitions to see if it's worthwhile for us to proceed with. But definitely, please send us all your thoughts and ideas so we can make this a viable and great competition.
Awesome. Well, we've hit our time, and I want to let you guys go. Does anybody else have any closing thoughts? I'll send out my notes on the last 3 days to everybody, and then at some point we will be recruiting for an advisory group. So be on the lookout for that to help us, actually start putting some thoughts onto paper. So thanks, everyone. Y'all have a good rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.